Oh.
Destroyer. Man, I love the Novaks. And how's Adrian today?
Adrian's doing all right.
Adrian Beaton here, owner of Jack Axes, Halimac. Just an axe guy, really. He just
All around.
he's a professional axeman. He makes a living off destroying pallet wood and swinging axes and other dangerous activities. And here for some, why are you even over here? Why are you over in this neck of the woods anyway?
Me and the girlfriend are visiting her parents there over in McIvers.
McIvers, a thriving metropolis of McIvers.
Bustling.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I'm really glad you can be here with us. Super happy to meet you today.
Yeah,
It's,
I'm happy to meet you as well.
I know it's a bit of a weird way to meet people, and like just
It's a cool
to
way
have
to
to
meet
go
people.
into a recorded conversation, but yeah, I like it. How's things going, man?
Things are going pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, the axe throwing world seems to be really popping off
It's
these
thriving,
days.
weirdly enough. Very the culmination of a hipster business, I guess.
It's pretty hip.
Yeah, it's pretty hip. It's fairly hip.
Yeah, I would say 9 out of 10 of your customers have mustaches.
Oh yes, and tight pants, mustaches, and plaid shirts that fit real well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I must say, anytime I've ever gone to Jack Axes, I've had an absolute ball.
Yeah.
My wife as well loves it out there.
Awesome.
And everyone just seems to be having a cool time. Like, you do get a really good mix of people in there, though, eh?
Oh man, we get everything. Most people are a little surprised. We actually have more women come through than men to Jack Axes, which is awesome, and that's what we want. But yeah, we get a lot of surprised people. In my office at the St. John's location is right by the entrance and the exit. And I get a lot of, like, you hear people come in, I don't know what the hell this is. What are we doing? Yada, yada, yada. And they come in and, like, you listen to them come in and they have a certain, what the fuck am I getting into? And then they're on their way out. That was so much more fun than I thought it was going to be. It's like, it's one of those things you're like, you're just throwing axes and, having a couple beer.
Yeah.
You're like, what's so special about it? And then you do it and you're like, I get it.
It's kind of like primal, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's, it's a rare in the world we live in today. How often you get to throw something and destroy a piece of wood or whatever, and in a competitive way as well, and in a very,
especially in the city, man. Like,
exactly.
If you're up living in a condo, you don't have a lot of space to go hucking axes in your life, right? So it's kind of cool. But it's harder than it seems, I must say. I know, I'm sure you guys, anyone can do it, obviously. It's very enjoyable to do, but I was surprised that, like, it does take a little technique there.
It takes a bit of time. It's hard for the reasons that people don't anticipate. They're like, oh, an axe is going to be heavy. They're like, no, anyone can throw the weight of this axe. It's all just about form, and you get some people come in there, nail the first one. Some people come in there that are just god awful, but our people work with everybody to kind of get them to land axes. But the biggest, I guess, thing that tricks people into thinking it's going to be super easy is everyone posts videos on Facebook of them landing a bullseye.
Yeah.
But they never, the 20 they drop beforehand, they don't post that.
That's the thing. And when I went out with my wife, it was like I videoed her every attempt right on the cell phone. And eventually she nailed it, and it was a money shot of her in heels, like nailing this bullseye, right? And she works for a logging company, so when she went back to work, they were really impressed.
Like, you're getting a raise.
Yeah, but there was 20 delete videos of missteps. But anyway, it's super fun, super cool. In the beginning, I was a little surprised to see that we're able to enjoy pints while we do this, but not exactly while you do it. Kind of thing. But like, I guess there's spaces.
It's controlled. You can't go past certain areas with the beer. Like, you can't be in the lane with the beer. And right off the bat, it's one of those things. It's obviously the first thing that comes to mind. And a lot of people, I hear this line every time we open a new location or reach a new audience or whatever. You get beer and axes. What could go wrong? And thus far, nothing, but knock on wood.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things like, you have to sign a waiver. So it kind of puts you in that mindset. And then you're like, okay, then we explain, like, if you drink too much, we're going to tell you can't throw axes anymore.
Right. And, so there's still like some sort of limitation there. It's like, you're welcome to drink, but
it's like, don't get ridiculous. And we've never, we've had a couple people that we've had to be like, hey, you got to stop throwing axes. And every single time, with the exception of maybe one or two groups, people go, yeah, that makes sense. It's like, so you don't really, people, at the end of the day, if you're going out with friends, you don't want to hurt your friends. Like, it's the same as everything. And the way it's set up too, it's just like, you'd have to go out of your way. Like, you'd have to turn and purposely throw an axe at someone.
Yeah, there's lanes.
Exactly.
As soon as it leaves your hand, it's in like a controlled lane.
Exactly. So it's just, you'd have to want to hurt someone. And the reality is, if you want to hurt someone, doesn't matter if you have an axe in your hand or a bottle or whatever you have in your hand, you're going to hurt someone. So.
Have you noticed any obvious correlation between alcohol and ability in terms of axe throwing? Is there like a fine line where like a couple pints makes you like a dead eye, and then after that it's all downhill?
It's
or
the
what?
same as bowling. I find like 3 beers.
Yeah.
I'm like the best bowler in the world. And then I hit that 4th and then all of a sudden I'm in the gutter.
Yeah. It's like pool too, right?
Yeah. All those kind of bar related sports.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, I got to get confident. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like, I just got to be, and that's the biggest issue with landing is like people aren't confident when they're doing it. And you're just like, no, just, you can do it. Just relax.
Throw it.
Yeah. Just throw the X. And the worst thing that happens is it doesn't land.
Well, since for those of you listening in, wherever you're listening, this is shot up here in Canada, Newfoundland, Canada, where cannabis is legal. And so has that changed your business? Are people coming in like, I already know the answer to this question because I'm in the industry, but you know, where do you see that going? Like
with regards to our business or in general?
With regards to your business, I guess, like, have you noticed any uptake of like people who are going at the cannabis stores and like, or consuming cannabis and then coming out to do things like this, or is it not really noticeable?
I haven't noticed any difference. The reality is, you know, marijuana wasn't hard to find before it was legal, you know, and it's just like, the only real difference is that people are just less shy about saying, yeah, I smoke weed, you know, it's not like they're high more often. They're just more outwardly high.
And certainly someone could go consume cannabis and come into your establishment, and
it's one of those things like I probably wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, some people are droopy eyed and
that's right.
have that bag of jelly beans in their hand or something. You're like, pretty sure. But for the most part, you can't really tell, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I wonder if someone who was high versus someone who was like drunk, who could throw the axe better.
Well, now that it's legal, we can test that.
We should find out. Yeah.
We should definitely.
Yeah, well, you know, and hopefully, like, I don't know, the rules around cannabis in Newfoundland right now are a bit weird, and where and how you can consume. It's a little more closed up than other provinces.
It is, yeah. Better than Ontario's, I guess, in terms of they can only order online. I don't know.
They got stores up there now.
Oh, good.
But only now.
Yeah.
But one thing Ontario did right was you can consume cannabis wherever you can consume, like cigarettes up there, right? Gotcha. So you can walk down the street and smoke a cigarette. You can walk down the street and smoke a joint.
Really?
In Newfoundland, though, it's not like that.
Yeah.
So here...
Actually, what are the rules here?
Well, I'll tell you.
Nobody's really following them, but yeah.
Technically, in Newfoundland, the only place you're allowed to consume cannabis is in a private residence.
See, that's interesting.
It is interesting because, okay, so let's just put ourselves, you know, you guys get tourism out there. You get people getting off those cruise ships coming up to do this stuff. Yeah. So, you know, when people come into, let's say, Corner Brook, they get off the cruise ship, they go to the only real nice cannabis store. Yeah. They buy some pre-rolls to enjoy their time here and also, you know, do this thing that they can't do legally where in their home. Yeah. And then they come into the store and they have to say, well, you can't actually use this anywhere. Also, you can't take it on the boat with you. So there's the garbage can. Yeah. You know, so obviously there needs to be a little bit of change here. They need to, I think the province needs to open up a little bit to this so it can be more of a business.
It's one of those things that just kind of had to, the ultimate goal was, okay, we wanted weed to be legalized, and it's like, that's great, as it probably should have been years and years ago. Yeah. But it was a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, so everyone kind of packaged it in a way that even the people that were against it could be like, okay, I can accept that. And I think you'll just see a more realistic, loosening, a more realistic approach to it kind of going forward.
I 100% agree. I think that's already starting to happen a bit, but yeah, you're right. Like October, everything had to be packaged so tightly, so strictly, just so it could be acceptable.
Exactly.
And a lot of people at the time still thought, I'm jumping. That's it. Everyone's going to be driving around stoned and the youngsters are going to be into the weed. And like, no, this step makes all of that stuff harder.
Well, it was one of like, obviously you work for, I
work in the cannabis industry.
In the cannabis industry, but it was one of those things like leading up, people were like, oh, this is going to be a dark day for Canada. This is going to be this is going to be that. And it was one of these from a political standpoint. You're like, okay, we need to roll this out as fast as possible because there was obviously a lot of problems when they rolled it out. Yeah. But on their side of it, they're like, let's roll this out so people can see that the world's not going to burn to the ground. Yeah. And if the biggest problem is we can't supply enough, it's like, those are problems that the society can kind of live with. They're like, we're not going to be like, cannabis ruined the world by not providing enough cannabis. So it's just like, time was on their side. As soon as they got it legalized, that's when it was on their side. Because like, okay, nothing's bad happened. Nothing bad has happened. We're still here.
Yeah. And I think, by setting like a legalization, this is only my opinion, does not reflect anyone that I work for, but I think by setting a legalization date, it kind of put companies under the gun to like show up and do this right away. And maybe it wasn't fully ready. Maybe, And so there was those supply issues in the beginning that are starting to level out now. And now that it's been legal, it's still only been like 7-8 months, man.
Hasn't been long, but like the money's flowing. The money's flowing, and then it's hard to. Conservatives will get on board because it's like, well, there's money.
Yeah. Okay, let's straighten up this money.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the money's flowing. No one's dying.
Dying.
People are having fun. There's a real industry created around this. So yeah, it just has me curious about the pairing of axes and beer. Well, what about axes and cannabis? Or maybe that's not a good idea. I don't know.
It's one of those things. Yeah. I don't really have an opinion on it one way or the other. We do axes and craft beer. That's our thing. Like, we love craft beer. It's a really big part of our business, is like dealing with local craft breweries, dealing with the people that go to local craft breweries. Like, that's our target demographic. Marijuana is just not a part of our business. And that's not a comment on it. It's just not our business, so we're not going to pursue.
Well, it can't be right now. It's not set up entrepreneurially where people can allow people to consume cannabis in their venues.
Exactly.
But when that happens, I think you'll see a whole new wave of people who are coming out to stuff. They're paying $5 to get into the place where they can vaporize their cannabis. Yeah. Because they don't like paying $5 to go to a bar or a club, or $5 they can go consume cannabis and play games or throw an axe or whatever.
And you made a great point about it being a tourism thing. I mean, everyone in the world, you grow up, you hear about Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Because you can smoke weed in Amsterdam or whatever. Yeah. It has this allure, this coolness thing. In Canada is like, it's even more legal here than it is there, and it's or less limitations, I should say.
Yep.
But like, that sucks in Newfoundland, where it's like you would show up, you're like, I'm here to smoke weed, and then you can't, and it's like. Anyways,
you can, but like, you can buy it, but then it's like, when as a tourist, like, I've traveled, I've been to Amsterdam and stuff, and knowing that I could go consume that and not get in trouble was the thing. That's why I felt comfortable to do it. But if someone was traveling here and they happen to read the rules that, hey, you're not allowed to consume in public, then they might be nervous, had a bad time. They might not purchase that. I don't know. We'll see. This is the first tourism summer of the legal world. So,
and that's a big, in Newfoundland, where we are, obviously tourism is a very big business.
It's it.
And it'll be interesting to see. But I think it's going to be interesting when I don't think the States is going to keep it illegal for long. I think once the money starts flowing, America's not going to let Canada make all that money and have them sit there. Yeah, I agree. Think that'll be.
But I can also understand why it's a lot more complicated to figure out when you have like, the 50 whatever states.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
it's a different beast for sure.
Yeah. So much difference. But in Canada, I liked how they did it. They kind of said, okay, this is not illegal anymore, and it's up to the provinces to decide how you want to roll it out. Yeah. And I think that's what the states should do as well. And it already is kind of happening.
Yeah, there's a couple states that have it. And, to my knowledge, now I'm not in the industry, so I don't know a terrible amount about it, but it sounds like it's been successful.
It's incredibly successful. Big revenues there. Yeah. But I don't know if you knew, but Canada is actually only the second country in the world to legalize this, fully legalize this.
Yeah, I guess I did know,
And the other country is Uruguay.
Yeah.
And South America.
We went to Amsterdam, and the girlfriend and a couple other people, we went to Amsterdam last May. Now, in my 30s, we weren't like, let's go smoke weed in Amsterdam. We just wanted to go see Amsterdam. But we went on a boat tour, and one of the things they told, he's doing a tour of the city, he's telling you this and that. He's like, actually, weed's not legal here. I forget what the actual loophole to getting it is, but like, it's not legal. Like, no. So it is one of these things everyone assumes it is or thinks that it is from branding of a country, but it's not. It's
more like decriminalized, and it's just kind of more of a philosophical thing. I think over there, they just don't believe in victimless crimes.
Yeah.
And they have an understanding that the police are meant to protect me from you.
Yeah.
And that axe.
Yeah.
The police are not meant to protect me from me.
Yep.
If I want to go hurt myself, that's a mental health issue, not a police issue,
And it manifests itself in interesting ways, like bikes over there, they run the town. And like
bikes, dude.
Man, they were saying, they were like, if I'm completely, because they have lights set up that are bike lights, and they're like, if I bust through a red light on the bike, he's like, and I get hit with a car, the car is still going to the guy driving the car will still get in trouble, not the biker, even though the biker's completely in the wrong. And I'm like, that's such in my mind, a positive thing. I'm like, get on your bikes, like bike to work or whatever. Exactly. You see everyone is in suits and they're biking. And it's just like, it's a lot more doable there. There's no hills. Hills, but like not like downtown St. John's where it's like,
it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Sea level.
Exactly. So it was really nice. And we went out one day, we just rented some bikes, and great day.
Dude, that's probably like the most dangerous tourist activity in the country.
Yeah, probably. Because it's hectic because people there are so comfortable with it.
Yeah, and they're coming up behind you, dinging their bells. Like, get out of the way.
Yeah, he's really angrily dinging that bell. Yeah. It was interesting. We had a blast regardless, but it's it's different.
They don't mess around. And once I had got there and visited my first coffee shop, I started looking around like, it's a lot of bikes. Like, I wonder how many people get their bikes stolen here, right? Yeah. And I started asking people, and they're like, no one. Like, look at these bikes; they're all the same. Yeah,
that was it. Everyone has the old school bikes, which are actually really pleasant to kind of steer. Yeah. The handles are like this. You got your little bell, you got your basket for your baguettes, and you just go nuts.
Yeah, it's just a different way. And no one's bikes are all like lavish.
You don't get shocks and it's like crazy stuff.
Very utilitarian.
This is and it's really comfortable too. Like the seats on them are those big, comfortable. It's designed for someone that uses it every single day, multiple times a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you've done some traveling around then?
Yeah, I've done a bit of traveling. Yeah, definitely.
Favorite place you've been?
Spain.
Oh yeah,
hands down. Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. Partially because I didn't expect it to be so. You hear about Italy, you hear about Greece. Yeah. And Spain's a Mediterranean country, and just went there and it was just fucking beautiful. Everything was beautiful. There was so much history there. We went to a place, I forget where it was exactly now, but they had a hole cut in the floor. It was a temple of some nature. And you could see the foundations. It was cut and showing you the foundations that were below it. And it was like, that was a Christian temple, and that was a Jewish temple, and that was a Muslim temple. And it was like, crazy. This person conquered that person. And you could see
history literally right there.
Years of history in a floor, and you're like, wow, that's nuts. Yeah.
Wow. Have you been to Greece?
No, I think that'll be the next thing that me and the lady friend do.
Yeah, some cool history.
We've been talking a lot of Greece lately, so yeah.
Any axes getting thrown in Spain?
Yes, there's one in Barcelona. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no joke. There's so we're actually we're founding members of the World Axe Throwing League.
Awesome. And that's a world league.
Oh, buddy, you don't even know. You're going down the rabbit hole now.
Let's go there, man. We got time.
So it's the World Axe Throwing League. Members in every continent on the face of the planet, except for Antarctica. Got to get penguins throwing axes.
I'm down with that.
That's it. We'll try and get her there. That'd be a cool thing in the future to see. Is like, let's go have a tournament there just to say we got all 7.
South Pole Cup.
Rough. I'm going. Anyway, so there's a fair few in Europe. Ireland has one. We just hosted the Canadian Open at our that was the affiliation of the World Axe Throwing League at our Halifax venue, and a couple guys from an Irish place, Tom O'Hawks, came down for it. The guys were wicked, and
Tom O'Hawks is an Irish axe throwing establishment.
100%.
Oh my god. That's legendary.
What's legendary is one of them thought he lost his passport. He ended up actually getting it back. He left it in a cab, and he went to the embassy, the Irish embassy in Halifax, which is connected to a bar. Oh, the old triangle. It's very.
Oh yeah, that's like, isn't that like across the street from your guys' location? The old triangle's down that way, isn't it?
It's down that way. Yeah, it's not across the street. It's pretty close though. But it was funny. It's like they came back laughing their ass off. Of course, our embassy is right next to a fucking bar, and we all get a kick out of it. So
it's amazing. So tell me about this World League. Okay, so what countries? I know there's probably a lot, but like, give me an idea of where the representation is coming from in this World League.
It's definitely primarily in North America, like the States. The axe throwing bars were only in Canada probably up until about 2.5 to 3 years ago, like right around when we opened in St. John's, and then they. First couple opened and just fucking exploded. Well, we're opening one in North Carolina, and but anyways, it just blew up, especially in the East Coast of the country, like Philadelphia. Holy shit, they got to, and like not only are they super into it, like they have some serious axe throwers there. Like right now, the best throwers in the world are primarily from there, except from St. John's, where the real best throwers in the world are from.
Oh, is that right? Are there guys out there?
We got some good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there guys from St. John's competing in the world?
Yeah, so we just had, now this has all come up in the last couple of years, so it's really, really just hit its stride this year. We had the World Championships in December. That was the first time axe throwing was televised on an international level, and it was on ESPN. And so it was great. It was crazy. Everyone was going fucking nuts. And anyways, so we sent down a few guys to the World Championships, and man, they did. Ryan Lane went down. He's going down this year. He qualified. It's way more difficult to qualify this year, but he managed to qualify. He had to come in the top 12 in the world of whatever season you're in to qualify. So anyways, he did. So he'll be going again. But he went down to try and get in the wild card game. He didn't end up making it. Anthony McDonald and Clem Whittle. Not to take anything away from the other guys there. They're all phenomenal and they've been pioneers for the sport in St. John's. But Clem Whittle, I think he's 60 years old. Best guy ever. So cool. So nice. Related to everyone. Like when we post something about Clem Whittle, all you see is Whittles just blowing up.
It's my cousin.
Yeah, everything. So anyways, he's such a sweetheart and he's an amazing axe thrower as well. And he went down and he was not an exaggeration. He was that close to being in the top 4 in the world. He went for, it's called a kill shot, the blue dot in the corner on his final throw. And we all, on ESPN, like we were watching from home, we thought he hit it. It was like right beside it. And it was about that much off of it. And the referee, the camera zooms in and the ref runs up and, sorry, he didn't make it. But yeah, so he would have been the top 4. Off by a splinter, yeah. So he also went to the Canadian Open, as did the boys that I mentioned before. Actually, we had a good representation from here at the Canadian Open because it was just in Halifax.
Right. At your spot over there?
At our spot in Halifax there. But so we had a lot of guys from St. John's because at the time Halifax had just opened, so we actually didn't even have a league. We haven't even started. Now we have one, but we hadn't started one there yet. So there was no representation from there except from our Kentville location down in the valley in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So a few of them went up as well. We had a bunch of guys from over in St. John's flew over and they had a great time. It was such a fun event.
So were you kind of sponsoring guys to go down there, helping make that happen, or what?
Kitty Vitty sponsors them. They sponsor our league. Kitty Vitty is fucking wicked. They supported us.
Shout out Kitty Vitty.
Yeah, and I want to shout them out because they supported us back when we were broke ass trying to open up our first location, and they were like, "Oh, this is an amazing idea." They supported. And everyone on the news was like, "Oh, this is a stupid idea."
Baron axles.
Exactly. Yeah. Same thing over and over. And they kudos to them. They supported us and they've sponsored a bunch of our throwers. They all have, Jack Axes or Halimac. There's 2 companies. And they have QV on the back of those shirts. And they've just been endlessly supportive of us. And I could not appreciate it more in such a good way too. Really, really positive relationship with them.
It's pretty legendary. Yeah. No, I just was something on my mind that you just mentioned. You talked about the player going for the kill shot. So when I've been at Jack Axes, I've seen how you have it set up. You've got the bullseye, you've got the blue circle. That's like a competition setup?
That's World Axe Throwing Leagues. Like that's how those boards are set up, and that's universal now. There's no room. Like if you don't follow those standards, you're not a member.
Right. And the distance like from the board is exactly.
Yeah. So everything's standardized at this point, which is just like, the first couple of years of axe throwing, the very first company was a company called Backyard Axe Throwing League Battle. And they kind of started their own. It's different from the World Axe Throwing League standards. And
it was backyard level.
Yeah, it was backyard. Well, they've blown up now. They're a big deal now. They started the National Axe Throwing Federation. Yep. And it's a different set of rules. Very similar sport, though. They use specific axes. Anyway, I won't get into the...
You can.
Okay. Well, all right. They use specific size axes, and they use also a large axe for their last throw. The tie-breaking throw, basically. Trust me, if you hop on some of these like Facebook message boards, you see endless fights between these
two. A lot of controversy.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know why there's any controversy. I enjoy both. I don't care. I'm a member of the World Axe Throwing League, so I support that, but I don't give a shit how you want to throw your axes. I'm not going to argue with somebody about it. But yeah, there has definitely been some controversy there. I would love to see long term some sort of a mashup where it's like, I don't know if you remember, and you definitely don't remember this because I don't remember. I was told this, but the NFL and CFL used to do a game, and once every while, they used to do half of it in NFL rules and half in CFL rules.
Ooh.
And I was like, that's cool. And then the NFL just got so much better than CFL that it was no longer a competition. But I would love to see something like that. That would be cool, really good, like for publicity and for sport in general. It would be great for everyone.
Yeah, and then you can find out how people stack up against each other despite the different rules they play at.
Yeah. And we're actually starting to see it already. Is what you see. The super serious people are throwing both. Like the one night they go down to an NATF venue, one night they go down to a Waddle venue, and that's kind of how they're doing it. So we saw at the Canadian Open, one of the guys that made it to the finals, he primarily throws NATF. And he came down. He was wicked. So he came down and there was a lot of other guys there as well. But he just stood out because like he had in his qualifying match, he had 4 perfect games, and we were kind of like,
what's a perfect game?
64. Now the rules since since him and a few other guys reached a level where it was ridiculous. So that the Canadian Open went to a final of 21 kill shots in a row, and A, bad TV, B, boring for me to watch. We're just like, holy fuck, I was like, just finish this match up. And so anyways, they finished up, and a week or 2 weeks later, the kill shot dot, it was probably, I don't know, the camera there was about that big. It's about that big now. And everyone freaked the fuck out. And like, oh my God. And they changed the rules a little bit in how you're functioning throughout the whole game, actually. But that was one big rule change, and people lost their shit. And it's funny, one season later, people are hitting them no problem again. It's all a mental thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And that's, I guess, how the sport's going to progress.
Yeah, you got to make it more difficult because you can't have perfect games. And that's actually one thing, and not to criticize NTF in any way, because they don't want to get involved with the fucking controversy.
Not into that.
Not into that. But they've kept the rules pretty stagnant, and I think and they will. They'll change them to make it a little more difficult, because what you're seeing is basically what I just described was too many perfect games, too many tied matches.
Okay, so it's 64 points is a perfect game.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't been out and thrown an axe yet, you're going to look at a wooden target that is how many feet in front of you?
It's 12 feet in front of you as well. At least 12 feet in front of you. You can go back as far as you want, though.
Yeah. So about 12 feet in front of you, and there's a painted bullseye with, I think, 3 red rings.
5 red rings.
5 red rings.
Or 5 black rings.
And whatever, I'm colorblind. And in each corner, there's a blue dot. So how do I, as a competitor, do I have to throw a certain way? The blue dots are worth the most? The kill shots?
Kill shots are worth the most.
But can you just keep going for kill shots, or do you have to go for like the target and then finish on?
So it used to be you had to do your first 9 had to be towards bullseye or as close as you could get to a bullseye, and then on the 10th shot you could shoot for a kill shot. Now that was one of the more recent rule changes, is on your 5th throw now, because you do 5 throws and you switch sides, you do 5 more throws, and now on your 5th throw that you can go for a kill shot as well. And the kill shot used to be worth 10, now it's worth 8. So you get to go for 2, but they're only worth 8 instead of 10. So it's actually, it changed the game a lot, and a lot of people have opinions, and a lot of them. And anyway, so they're like, oh, whatever, they complained about this thing and that thing, but I don't know if it was better or worse, but it's where the game is going, and it had to become more difficult. So you'll see more tweaks in the future, but I don't know what it'll be.
That's interesting, man. It's so cool to see such a sport around it. So in the beginning, when you guys opened up in St. John's, there wasn't like this, the league wasn't there then, was it? Or did you start the league right away?
We actually did start the league right away, and I was a little bit, no, we did not have a big, it wasn't huge, but I was surprised at how many people came out for it. People are like, yeah, we're starting a league, and we're like a month in, and like when we opened it was crickets in there. And it was, like a bunch of people signed up. I think 12 people signed up for it, and I had a couple a couple of staff members. I was like, you can join for free, just join the fucking league. And anyways, they joined up, and so I think we had probably 15 people in the league or something like that. And at the time, I was working 80 to 100 hour weeks, 7 days a week, typical small business shit.
Yep.
And Monday night was our league night, and it was like a godsend for me. I was like, wicked. I just
get to throw.
Yeah, just get to throw, and I get a half a buzz on every Monday, because I was like, I am so tired. And it was the closest thing to a night off I had in the first 6 months of the business was that, and nice. I really loved it. And that's really people say the sports drive it. This is driving it. I grew up playing a lot of sports, and that was the mentality I was in up until very recently. Was the sports driving it forward? ESPN, TSN, this shit's driving it forward. The culture,
right?
Forward, man. It's a cool, supportive culture. It's a place for grown-ups to go, where it's not taking anything away from like a dodgeball league or something like that, but it's like that's their place, that's their house. Like you know what I mean? They come there, they leave their axes there, they have their personalized axes. They come on Monday night, they know everybody. And they support it. We raise a lot of money for charities. We do a lot of cool shit.
You do a lot of charity stuff out there.
And we're making some changes to kind of shift because myself and my partner, who was my cousin, both grew up playing a lot of sports. So like we were sports minded towards this.
Were you guys like hockey guys or?
Soccer was his main thing. We both played hockey. It was neither of our like best sports. I was clearly better than he was. He was really, really good soccer player. I was a pretty good rugby player, and that was kind of, but we were one of those, like we played everything.
Yeah.
But
just like to compete.
Just like to compete. Yeah. We really enjoyed it. And that's kind of where our heads were at with that. Just, that's just naturally where we went.
Yeah.
and we actually hired a really a great girl. Her name is Becky Arscott. She's our GM in Halifax, and she actually came from the Backyard Axe Throwing League, and she really pushed.
Poached.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't working there. She was just throwing there,
but came with experience.
And she was like, I think you should really push on the culture side of things. She's like, that's really what made Battle special, and there's no doubt about it. Like, big shout out to Battle. They do culture building better, community building, I think, better than anyone out there at the moment. And that was kind of a, maybe you're right, because there was a lot of negatives to the sports side blowing up, which was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of this shit. It just kind of distracted from the positive of it. Like, I used to love going to league night, and there came a point where I was like, you know what, this isn't as enjoyable as it used to be, because it used to be good people getting together, talking about weird shit and doing some good stuff for the community as well. Yeah. And that was really special. And I'm really glad she came along and kind of like, hey, we should focus on building the culture. And the league that we're doing this summer is going to be a little bit more culture focused.
That's a good score to be able to get, people in your team like that. I know in the cannabis business, when this opened up, there wasn't like a big pool of people you could go, headhunt who had retail cannabis experience.
Because nobody had it.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to anyway.
Uruguay, you got some people we can see.
Yeah, they start picking in your Uraguans or whatever. But you know what I mean? So you had to look in other places for other skill sets. So it's cool when you can. And I guess you were probably in a similar boat. When you first opened in St. John's, you must have, I don't imagine you were able to get a team of people who were proficient axe throwers. Or did you?
Not at all. I wasn't even that great when we first started. It was just one of those things, and it's a positive and a negative, because I personally love that everyone was a fresh mind, that we molded them into what we are. Because
no bad habits come with
no bad habits, no good habits either, but that's it. So we took it in the direction that was proper to myself and my cousin, and it was interesting just to see, because we do certain things better than any company in the world, but we didn't do, I kind of gave a shout out to Battle there, they did that thing better than we do, and we recognize that, and someone pointed it out. We're like, yeah, we do what we do better than anyone else. I'd love to do that better as well.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting, because now you're getting to the point where these have been open long enough where you're getting people that have that experience, but it was also a really special moment where you're bringing something new to a city, to a province, and the employees, we have really good employee retention. I mean, part of that is I think we're pretty good employers, and the other part of it is they are legitimately a part of something, and they can feel that. They're like, I was there, I built this thing. They were there. We have employees there that have been there since month one, and
Crazy.
They built that sport.
They feel ownership of it,
and they should. They holy fuck, some of the best ideas we've had have come from the employees that work there, and it's one of these things. It's almost unfortunate, as you grow, you want to just you want to boost them up, but maybe their skill set isn't in that next level. They're really good at this and this and this, but some of the best ideas have come from these people that are just wicked people, and I would love to do everything I can for them. And I try and, the way I do, try and handle it is try and just treat them with absolute respect.
That's all you can do as an employer,
That's
man.
all you can do, yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you a business question?
Absolutely.
Do you have do you think you have any higher premiums for insurance because you have staff that are throwing axes?
1,000,000%. I don't think that I know that.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know if it was explained to you that. So how does that work? How do they look at this? Even though you have people that you're training to do this stuff, what are these insurance companies telling you?
The reality is right now, it's getting a little bit better now. There's actually an insurance company in the States called Axe Throwing Insurance. What's the name of their company?
It's all about those niche markets.
All about those niche markets. So he's got a corner on it because nobody fucking else is doing it. But the reality is the same with cities. They didn't know what to do with us. They're like, we don't want to not insure you because we want your money. But I don't so they made up rules. So you have to have this and this. It's almost similar to I always say this with a bank. They're like, fill out your projections when we're starting off. Fill out your projections 3 to 5 years. I'm like, okay,
just make some shit up.
Exactly, and that's all it is. I'm like, this is bullshit numbers. Yeah. I'm basing it on things that I think it makes sense, but it's bullshit.
Yeah, if I knew how this business was going to do in 5 years, I wouldn't be here right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's if I knew this for a fact, I'd be opening up 100.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that way. So they kind of bullshitted their way through it. Everyone's bullshit. It's a new industry, so everyone's bullshitting until they kind of see how it works out.
Yeah.
And so you'll see some more things kind of restricting how things are done, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really important right now. with the perception of our business. Beer and access, what could go wrong? So the reality is, at our business, nothing significant has ever happened at any of our locations. That's great, but it's one of these things. So like if you go down to a bar, say, I don't know where people are listening from, but in St. John's, Newfoundland, there's a street called George Street, and it has most bars per square kilometer in North America. So it's a rowdy street. You go down there on a Friday, Saturday night, I'd say a couple bottles are getting broken over, a couple heads, and
Any night.
bear
spray,
exactly,
whatever, yeah.
Whatever the hell's happening. No, fuck yeah, I was at a bar. I got bear maced once, and
I don't understand this phenomenon, but anyway, it's different
fine.
coverage.
Not where I'm trying to go here. But you never hear about that. Oh, it's a bar. That's what happens at bars sometimes, you know. But like if one thing happened at our place, fucking people would be all over
Yeah,
it.
someone gets like a splinter.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're just like, so you have to be ultra safe about it right now. And it's you just got a kick out of it. The one I always kind of compare it to is trampoline parks. Is like fucking people get fucking broken bones there all the time, and they get hurt there literally on a weekly basis. And we're
Like kids.
yeah, little kids, you know. And but that's the kind of the difference. It's a purely a perception thing. People are like, oh yeah, I'll send my 5-year-old to a trampoline park. But then you're like, hey, fully grown man, do you want to go to an axe bar? Like, no, that sounds dangerous. You're like, well, they've had no injuries, and this place fucking has broken bones.
Yeah, the place you send your kid to, a guy smashed his orbital bone yesterday morning.
And fuck, actually, we went there. Don't get me wrong, I love trampoline parks. Don't close trampoline parks.
No.
But yeah, we went there. I took a staff there. We had a great time. But the guy, his thing is getting hurt on every single staff night we have. That's just his thing. Like
One of those guys.
Oh, he's
Liabilities.
one of those guys. He's the liability. Yeah, but our insurance is going up just by hiring him. But anyways, yeah. So he turned up. He like whatever. He messed his ankle up a little bit. He's like, man, we went there like a year and a half ago, and a couple weeks ago. My ankle's still fucked up from that. And I'm like, I'm sure it is because you're that guy. But yeah, it's purely a perception thing. But I hope that eventually we reach a point where it just it's become normalized, where it's like like anything, like you play rugby, you're probably gonna get some fucking injuries because you know what, a bunch of guys are smashing each other.
But if you choose to play rugby, you know, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's funny that you get the kind of difference in perception of like, oh, you're playing rugby, yeah, I might break my leg, whatever, but that's rugby. But you're like, axe throwing bar, you're like, you shouldn't be allowed to exist. You're like,
Yeah.
why?
Speaking of, like, so you guys are obviously licensed. So does that mean no one can go up there at all if they're not 19? Or is it like, do you have some sort of...
We have, so it depends on the location because different liquor laws. Liquor laws are very specific to areas. So in one, we have it designed so you can walk around. So like the under 19-year-olds can walk around the bar area and they can just go to the throwing area.
It's like that in St. John's, isn't it? Because the bar is like a separate little nook, right?
It is. So when we first opened, it was just the bar you could have your beer, and now we have it out in 5 of our 7 lanes. You can.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So we actually have it right up there.
I didn't know that.
And that actually, funny enough, because people are always.
That's a game changer, man. That's a significant. That must be so much better for sales, like on bar sales.
It's honestly not a huge changer.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone assumes that, and we actually would have assumed it, but we didn't want it. We're like, we don't really want to sell any more alcohol. We just want people to. It actually came from keeping things safe, so people can't like drop something in your drink because people were leaving the drink at the bar.
True.
And like, so that's we sent out a survey at one point. And the number one thing, like, women were like, I don't want to fucking leave my drink in the bar unattended. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, that is reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that came out of, and we've had no uptick in sales, no notable one, maybe a couple %, but nothing crazy.
So in the beginning, the decision to keep the alcohol out of the lanes, that was your decision, or was that an NLC decision?
It was a bit of an NLC decision, a bit of a lack of us understanding the limitations and the opportunities of what the laws were.
Licensing, yeah.
So once we kind of understood them, we knew how to manipulate them a little bit better to get what we wanted.
Make them work with what you guys are trying to provide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was just like, this was a little bit safer, and talk about beer over here.
We can ask. We're not live.
Thank you.
That's if you're only just listening and not watching. That's Adrian calling for a top up from our producer Chris McCarthy.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of where it's like anything. It's especially when it's an industry that is new. It's you're figuring it out, and it's been fun in that way. I actually don't think I would have been nearly as successful just from how I like to operate in an industry that's really, really set. Because I almost like to learn to make my own mistakes. And in developed industries, like a restaurant, like you better have your shit together if you're opening a restaurant. Like your shit better be tight. And it would have been more difficult for me just the way I work. But now we have our business keeps getting better and better and better and better because like we started from the ground up and we're growing something in the way we want. You know what I mean? We're having our own impact on the industry. You know?
So you'd rather be that pioneer, set the rules, make the rules.
Yeah, exactly. It's more enjoyable for me to do that. And I don't even think I'd like, I don't think I would enjoy as much going into an industry that's super, super set in its ways. And just like,
I hear
really
you, man.
enjoyed.
I 100% hear you. And like, this is why I decided to enter the cannabis industry. I was just completely working for myself leading up till legalization, and when the opportunity presented, and I thought, man, how cool to like get in on something day one before the rules are fully made. Yeah. But then learning, like, that comes with some frustrations.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Before the rules are set, part of, you know, so much trial and error, but there's also you know, there's a lot of benefits to being amongst the first people. It can be hard, it can be expensive. You know, you take a lot of lessons on the chin that later your competitors get to just learn from you. The mistakes you had to pay for.
And fuck. Shout out to my staff in St. John's because those poor fuckers, they had to deal with that place changing so much, so rapidly over the first probably year and a half. They were exhausted. I was exhausted, but I owned it, so I didn't give a fuck. But yeah, they were exhausted. I kind of pushed them to their limits on that. But so my apologies to the staff. Thank you for you know, pushing through that with me. But
I can't mind it that much. I mean, they were all going around with sharp objects in their hands. If they had that much of an issue with you, they'd it probably would have came to a head.
Yeah, but it kind of almost did. It was like that was like, okay, I need to slow the fuck down and set things, and then we did, and it was good. So you know, we've always been receptive to the staff in that way. But it was just I was like. It was just a new industry, and the industry was changing so rapidly that you're like, okay, this is how we do things. Oh, this rule changed. Oh, okay, we no longer fucking do things that way. And like it was just always, and it was an exhausting bit. And I was leveled out now, and it's kind of like getting the slow creep up of changes. It's more healthy growth.
It's awesome. Yeah. What would you compare axe throwing to in terms of other, I guess, like rec activities? Like I'm thinking like paintball. That's a weird example, but like, is there anything else that's comparable to this as a business?
It's really difficult, and one of the number one things that like banks, insurance companies, they look at you and they try you're new, so they try and compare you to something that already exists, and they kind of can't. I was listening to another podcast about Burton snowboards, and at the time snowboarding wasn't a fucking thing, and he was like talking about his. I'm like, wow, I'm like. That would be the biggest thing that I can compare it to, because it's just like it's a sport but it's also recreation, and I don't think I'd be wrong to say that drinking kind of goes hand in hand with them. And anyways, and you kind of had the same, like when he first started talking about there was 3 ski hills in all of America that would allow snowboards on the hill. And he's like, that's kind of where it started. Anyway, so it blew up. And that's very similar to what we had, which is like the reason I'm in the space I am in St. John's, and I actually really like our space now, but, or I guess I like the location of it, but, we tried to go to a couple different venues and nobody wanted to have us. They're like, because at the time, axe throwing wasn't a thing. And
you're like, I want to rent your property and friggin' pay, like have people throw axes in there.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel about that?
They're like, I feel poorly about it. You should fuck off. And it's like, okay. And just happened to, somebody headhunted us. Like we were in the paper a bunch because we're opening a weird business. And a landlord came to us. Like, hey, why don't you come down to this space? I went down and checked it out. And I was like, all right.
So you guys had been doing like publicity before you actually had a location?
Yeah, because we actually we were trying to move quickly, and we were also really shitty at doing what we were doing because we were new to it. We put in an application with the city for a specific space before, because we knew it was going to be a bit of a process because we had to go through the council, and we didn't want the lease to get held up because of that. So we actually didn't have a signed lease. We had an LOI out, and it ended up coming back, and we said no. And the oh my God, what do you call them? The representative from that area, he publicly was like, they've relinquished their application, and I thank God for that. That's what he said. And we were just like,
oh man,
oh, so ice cold. Jeez. Man. Yeah,
closed-minded, man.
It was bad. I mean, he was kind of particularly bad, to be honest with you. He like, we reached out to him once, trying to meet with him. We're like, come down, check us out, yada 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 yada. He just had no interest. He was just like, nope, I'm gonna blindly just shit all over you.
Oh man. I hope that's not a Newfoundland thing. I'm pretty sure it's, you know, I'll say it's not, but this is it, man. It's not easy to pave new
It's not
new path like that.
That's fun.
But this is where the opportunity is, and this is why I love doing business in Newfoundland, man, because I think you can go almost anywhere else in the world and travel, and you'll start to notice things that happens. Yeah. And I mean, just like yourself, you first did axe throwing in Ontario.
Yep.
And people say Newfoundland's behind the times, or, you know, we're behind everyone else. And to me, that's somewhat true. Just because we're so outside of these major urban areas where trends happen, but also that's a big opportunity for any entrepreneurial Newfoundlander to go travel, man, go see something, go check something out that you like. And if you see a gap, if you think that can work in Newfoundland, try it.
Man, I actually totally fucking agree. It's almost like you have a crystal ball into the future if you can look at certain things, because especially stuff like axe throwing, where it's more a feeling, you have to be there. So like you can see it online, you can see this shit, whatever, but you don't actually get the experience. Right. So really experience-based businesses, those kind of cultures and whatever, craft beer just blowing up here. And that's, you know, people get into the whole culture of it. It's not just about the beer. It's about the people. It's about everything to do with it, the process, everything. Yeah, man. And that's kind of hard to, even though the internet, we're all connected, but unless you're physically walking into craft breweries all the time, you don't really get that full, you know, fully immersed in the culture. Yeah. And so Newfoundland, it's cool for entrepreneurs to kind of have that almost crystal ball into what could be here, and you can try some new things here. Yeah. I also just think like Newfoundland's a super, super unique place, and I feel like there's a lot of untapped opportunities here. Crazy. Like the guy, I love him. And actually, I'm going to totally pat myself on the back right now. He was in our league for our first league or our second league ever. Anyways, the owner of the Newfoundland Salt Company. Oh, I just, tell me about that. I just saw it yesterday online. Yes, he's part of some big contest right now. I don't even power to you, man. I hope you win. Yeah. But so it's just a salt company. And actually, I got a whole. Is he boiling salt water and making salt? Yeah, but he makes all kinds of different salt. And it's just like, man. Like everyone kind of thinks, oh, Newfoundland's unique. How can we exploit that not exploit that, but how can we use tourism in terms of like, that's where your mind typically goes. But this guy's like, I got all this salt water here. I'm surrounded. We're on an island, and anything that you put Newfoundland's name on as a product is going to sell to tourists. So exactly, it's very unique. It's like the province as a whole is marketed very well. So he's got this Newfoundland Salt Company, and my sister's husband, he is I'm not sure if he's actually doing it right now, but he used to be a food critic, and that was like his part-time job or whatever. But he was actually really, really into it. Yeah. And he came over here and he went to, I can't believe I got him over here. My sister lives in Toronto and he's super Toronto. She's super Toronto now. Right. They came over here and they loved it. Went to Raymond's and had a meal there. They're like, it's the best meal I've ever had. And he got Newfoundland Salt Company and he fucking swears by it now. Like he loves it. It's the best salt. And to me, I'm like, it's salt. But to people that know what they're doing, they're super into what he's doing. Yeah. And I love it's such a cool way to use our cool, unique province in a creative way. See, I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for that a little bit. I'm not trying to be one of those guys who's like, I had that idea. Like I saw 3 years ago, I saw a documentary about this guy in Iceland who was doing that. But he was going a step further. He was using geothermal heating from all this volcanic activity to steam, harnessing the steam, boiling seawater. And essentially he was just getting unlimited salt for free. Yeah. You know, and selling it as an Icelandic salt product. So super kudos to the Newfoundland Salt Company. Way to capitalize on an opportunity. Such a cool idea. I just love, like, that's a great story about Iceland. Like, I love cool people looking at something a little bit differently and coming up with a really cool idea. That's essentially how me and you met. Basically. So it was kind of like, I love that. And this is what I love about going on this podcast road too, man. And especially speaking with entrepreneurs like yourself, is there's so much to be learned. There's so much collaboration opportunity. Yeah. When we think that we're on an island in a province with like 500,000 people, and you look around, you see a lot of people doing shit for themselves, man. Like a lot of people starting their own ventures, a lot of, and we have the distinct opportunity that I would say between me and you, if we were to really dig into it, we would know everyone, like a lot of the movers and shakers. And so it's not hard to network in Newfoundland and to get people who can help you. And you get, it's entrepreneur, and specifically entrepreneurs are really amazing people in terms of like, oh, you're starting your own business because it fucking sucks. So you're like, let me help you. Any way I can help you, let me know. And like I found that with everyone, and that's a beautiful thing. Like that's something I really love about entrepreneurship. It's just like you get that camaraderie, even if you have nothing to do with their industry. Right. And they're like, man, I know the struggle. I know this sucks. How can I help you?
Yeah.
Can you learn anything from me? And
this is your first venture, right?
I'm gonna say yes. It's my first real venture. We had a little donut stand beforehand that we bought off somebody
In St. John's?
Yeah, man.
I heard about that. And you
Adam's Mini Donuts.
Yes, man. And
I'm Adrian. Everyone assumed my name was Adam, but I bought it off someone whose son was named Adam.
Yeah, and you kept the name. Because they had some brand value, did they?
Trust me, we sold fucking donuts like you wouldn't believe. And they built up a business for 10, 11 years. Anyways, they were the coolest couple ever, the sweetest couple ever. And
did you hit up The Gathering in the past about coming out for that?
Probably.
For the donuts thing?
Yeah.
And you sold that off after.
I sold it. Yeah, Access blew up. It just
yeah.
became, we're like, this is just, I don't want to deal with the issues
Right.
of it. But yeah, that was a great little first
cool little business, man.
Yeah, and get a little start to it, right? It was a good place to start. But
that's what it's about. And we spoke about our mutual friend Daniel Smith.
Dan Smith.
You asked Daniel Smith about, I don't know, maybe he already told you, but he had a pretty cool little business on the go as well.
Shit, what was it?
And now I'm just trying to make sure I'm saying this right. Is him and his brothers, the three of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the three of them because it was called, so Daniel, Andrew, and Kieran, those are the three brothers, and they started Dax Cool Snacks.
That's wicked.
I don't know if you knew about this.
But I already want half of the company.
Again, this is taking what you see elsewhere and doing it here.
Yeah.
They purchased somehow like Western Newfoundlands only Dickie D bicycle.
No fucking way.
Yeah, and so the boys, three brothers, would take turns taking this thing. And Pasadena is a lake town with a beach. The boys would take this thing, a cooler bicycle, and drive it down to the beach, drive it around town, man, hustling popsicles and ice creams.
Man, that's
super cool. Yeah.
I come from Nova Scotia, and Dickie D's are all over the place down there.
Right?
I live in the
There's
suburbs.
none here. I don't see them here anywhere.
Yeah, like it's not a thing here. And in St. John's, just because they would die trying to sell us popsicles on the hills.
You just see Dickie D's flying down the hills with no brakes, like
highest mortality rate is Dickie D driver.
Oh my god, that would be a hilarious comedy sketch, like the St. John's Dickie D driver just dying going up these hills everywhere.
His own product just to survive the heat of pumping up some of those hills.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, you should ask him about that. Be like, I didn't know you're a popsicle salesman.
I didn't know he's an entrepreneur there.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a mover and a shaker. He's doing photography is phenomenal. He's just a cool guy with cool
He's
ideas.
been involved with politics when he was, when he was in university here. He was heavily involved in the council, and I'd say that he's probably a guy to keep an eye on. Really, super nice dude, a great family.
Smart
actually.
Guy,
yeah,
just a cool guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah, bunch of good dudes, and he works for you now.
Yeah,
Does he?
I mean, he does.
Yeah, cool.
It's one of those guys. I'm like, you're just cool. Like, I'm just happy to have you around. But yeah, I guess he works for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
He started out in our league, and he ended up working for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So here it is. Who's the best axe thrower in St. John's?
Oh God, you're gonna fucking make some enemies for me. I'm gonna say Ryan Lane right now because he just clinched his world championship. There's a lot
that's beyond opinion. That's title.
So that kind of takes the onus off me to decide.
Yeah.
But Greg Knoll and Anthony McDonald and Dan Smith's really good actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good. Clem Whittle. There's a lot of really good throwers out there. And honestly, like for the amount of people that live in St. John's and in Newfoundland in general, like we definitely have an absurdly high number of high competitors for an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Is it because we just come from a long line of people who had to swing an axe for sustenance and survival?
I have no idea why. I think it's because we're awesome.
Probably.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'll cheers to that, man. Yeah. Now, in axe throwing, I know when I was there, there's various axes. We when you pay to go there, you can use like the big boy, the hatchet. I think there's 3 size axes. Is it?
No, it's the hatchet and the big boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the big boy is like, this is a mid-size axe here. This one is bigger than that, right?
Than that, yep.
It's bigger than that. In competition, what do they use?
So that the bigger axe you used to see there, they used to use that as like a tiebreaker or whatever. It's no longer used. We actually have it only in our one venue there. It was just always been there. We just aren't getting rid of it for like customers. We don't use it in the league. Hatchet only.
Hatchet only. There's one size axe for league play.
Yeah, and there's no other. In theory, you could use a full-sized axe because there's a minimum length. In your handle, but there's not a maximum length.
What about the weight of the axe head?
Yeah, there's a weight on the. It's I think I want to say 2 pounds on the head, And they actually recently changed that to, because it's total axes, you're getting a lot of steel axes, and you didn't know the weight of the head of the axe because it was a part of the entire idea.
Yeah.
And I actually am blanking on what the maximum weight is on a full steel axe. But yeah, there are rules and limitations. You got rules and limitations on your the blade too. It's 4.5 inches. Like that's as big as the blade can be.
Right.
And you'll see people right at 4.5 inches because they want the maximum. You know, if they're hitting a bullseye or anything else,
that's right.
Maximum amount of area covered.
So are people getting into like modding their axes now? Are there things you can do are people like customizing their axes inside of some acceptable?
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
People are doing crazy shit. So whether it's just decorating it, see a lot of decorations, painting, tape jobs, whatever, carved into the metal.
Yeah.
You see a lot of, so there's a really popular axe called the Trail Boss. It's actually a full blown, like it's a wood chopping axe, but it has a straight handle all the way down. So people cut it off and then they have a nice smooth handle. It has a really heavy head.
Do you want a straight handle for axe throwing, or do you want something with like a curve like this thingy?
Totally up to the thrower. So it's big. Yeah, some people are super into the curve here, and some people like the smooth release of the straight handle. And that, so that's where you get into mods too. You see everything. You see people taking heads off of axes and putting it. So like people that like the head on another popular axe is called the Cold Steel Axe Gang.
Right.
It's like a straight blade. It's a really cool blade, and it's really effective. Very, very narrow profile. And anyways, you'll see people, but it has the straight handle. And you'll see people take the head off that, and they'll put it on a handle that has something like that on there. Yeah, the curve.
Right.
Which is interesting as well.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, very interesting.
I need to get me another axe. Start practicing.
Absolutely. Well, we can practice at that event.
Oh, yes. At the Gathering.
Yeah.
For everyone listening, you've heard us talking about the Gathering Festival over the last few episodes. And this is how Adrian and I began chatting, actually, just talking about, hey, like, we're trying to spice up our festival, and this is a pretty spicy activity you guys provide here. And thankfully, we were able to work out something that's going to work for both of us. And so at the Gathering, anyone who attends that and buys that weekend pass is going to have a chance to throw some of these axes and get some professional instruction on how to do that.
That's it.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Man, I can't wait. I haven't been up yet, so I'm really excited to
Never been to a gathering?
Never been to the Gathering, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to like it, man. You going to bring some people with you?
You know I am.
Yeah. It's a good time, man. It's a good time. You're going to meet some good people. We're going to have fun. You know, it's kind of weather dependent, but even in the rain, we have a great time.
Yeah, that's the Newfoundland's good for... it's May 2-4 weekend is the best example of that. It's always raining and everyone camps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but this festival is such a departure from other festivals. Like if you imagine Salmon Fest, what's Salmon Fest like when it's pouring rain? Well, you're standing there in the field watching the concert, whether it's raining or not, nothing changes. You're just getting wet or dry. Out here at the Gathering, if it starts raining, they start lighting bonfires, big pallet fires going, whatever, keep people warm. They're giving out ponchos, it's a tight, really cool thing that we're happy to be part of, and stoked that Jack Axes is going to be out around this year, August 23rd and 24th.
It's just such a cool idea for an event, and
it's great for events. Just to work at any event.
Yeah, right. And it's just like Newfoundland itself is an obscure place, but then Burlington, Newfoundland is like even more obscure, and it's just like this is wicked, like such a cool place, a whole cool event.
So are you, now that you guys are outside of Newfoundland and you have like a Halifax operation, if someone say had a festival event in Halifax, are you guys set up for that yet, where you can do off-site stuff there?
Not the actual Halifax one, but our Kentville one down in the valley, which is not too far from the Halifax one, has the mobile thing completely set up, and so we actually brought it in for the RV and truck show that was in March. We just set it up there as well. So yeah,
how'd that go over?
It went over really, really well.
Nice.
Yeah, because at the time there's only traditional lumberjack style axe throwing available in Halifax, and people were like, "What the fuck is this other shit?" And anyways, so we set up there, and people were like, "This is great." And like one of the great things about our style of axe throwing is like, where you're throwing a hatchet, anyone can throw that. Like this is not like we've had people from literally. Oh my god! Actually, we set up too young. We set up at the Sportsman Expo. I forget what the actual name was. Anyways, we set up there one year, and so these are these are parents that are used to being in the woods, and they grow up and their kids are in the woods with them.
Yeah. A lot of people in Newfoundland live the rural life.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the kind of life that they grew up in, and they're comfortable with certain things that city dwellers are not as comfortable with. Yeah. And one of those is like, yeah, handle an axe. It's like, yeah, absolutely, my 6-year-old can handle his axe, and yeah,
he cuts splits every morning.
Oh, exactly, yeah, he's probably better than I am, and I was there it was our first year, a couple months in, and we set up, and there's these kids like, yeah, he's fine to go, and I'm like, as long as they signed the waiver for him, I'm like, okay, and I'm standing behind this kid, and I'm like, just like, okay, throw, and then I'm like grabbing him just in case anything happens, kind of a thing. But yeah, it was
oh man,
it was scary.
Youth league.
Yeah, youth league. But you know what? They landed. Actually, my cousin, his daughter, I forget when she landed this. I think she would have been 7. But she obviously is growing up in the world where her father owns an axe bar, several axe bars. And anyways, so we have a couple of great pictures of her just throwing it. She's wicked at it. And then we have people all the way up to probably 75, if not older. When I first went in Ontario, we were there. It was my father's 60th birthday, and some of his older brothers were there, and they were pushing 70. Yeah, and they were landing axes like nobody's business. And,
wow.
Yeah. So it's great. That's another great aspect of it. Is just like anyone can do it. It doesn't matter your body shape, type, size, height, whatever. You can throw an axe.
Anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. Yeah.
No PPE required.
Exactly.
No steel toe boots.
Just no sandals. Don't
no sandals. That's stupid. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens every summer. We have a stock of almost like bowling shoes, but they're just like random shoes. We're like, here you go. Just put those on.
Yeah. It's just cringy.
It's oh man. Yeah. Well, it's the only thing I've ever seen is like it'll slide back on the floor sometimes.
What if it like hit the wall and slide back?
Yeah, it'll hit the wall and slide, so it won't come back
that
in
had to
the
be some
air.
throw, man.
But yeah, you just get it hits the
weird bounce, right?
Weird bounce, and it'll slide on the floor, and then you're like, if you're wearing shoes, whatever, you might get
you might have got a slice.
Yeah, but if you're wearing sandals, you might slice your toe. Yeah.
Crazy, man. So many considerations, but this is what it's like to break new ground, be an innovator.
I see a lot of places do. Again, not to kind of shit on them in any way, but like. We used to have logs. We're like, yeah, put your axe in the log, and it's right in the middle, and that's how you throw. And like,
what do you mean by that?
So like, yeah, when you go home to your lane, there's a log right in the middle.
Okay,
and that's what hell your axe is.
Right, right.
And I saw a million people, sober as a judge, go and just miss the log and just like almost hit themselves in the shin. And I was like, we're getting rid of that.
Yeah, you just
so
lay it
put
here
in a bucket. Exactly. Yeah, but I see a lot of people still have the thing. I'm like, it's weird. Like you guys haven't had that problem, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the dangerous. Throwing an axe away is probably less dangerous than trying to chop wood, right?
I wasn't worried about people throwing the axe. I was worried about someone putting it back in the wood. I was like, that's when they're going to hurt themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so now they put it in.
Yeah, especially once you got a few pints in you and you think you're.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, if you're dead sober doing that, I'm like, I don't want you to have a couple drinks in you.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad to hear you haven't had any issues. I'm not surprised, but I'm glad to hear that you haven't had any real like issues like that. And I think it's just. Once you're standing there in this lane with the sharp axe, you're like, I don't want to hurt yourself. Your common sense kicks in and you're like, I should try to be safe.
Get the same fears over and over and over. And then once they do it, I get it. Like, it's not dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nuts, man. Yeah. So what's next for you then? Like you have now, would you say 4 or 5?
We have 4
spots?
corporate.
You got
we
one
have
franchise?
We have 4 corporate-owned locations, and then we just sold our first franchise in Charlotte, North Carolina, to an amazing couple. They're wicked.
How did they find out about you guys?
How didn't they find out about us?
Everyone's talking about it.
No. We like it's franchising. It's a really weird and niche world and market, and basically. We spent years creating the operations manual and doing the legal groundwork to not only set up a franchise, but set it up in another country. And then you get into these. This guy was brought to us from a broker, but there's all kinds of marketing events and there's shows you can show up to, and all kinds of different ways that you can do this. But it's very interesting because I say this is probably a common thing for a lot of people that start a franchise. It's like, it's a natural extension of my business. It's almost like. I do axe throwing. I'm going to sell T-shirts. Like, that's not a big change. Just add the T-shirt, whatever. And that's definitely the mentality we went into it with. It's like, it's a natural extension. We're doing this well. Why wouldn't we package it up and sell it to other people?
Yeah.
And then we very quickly realized it's a completely separate business. And I recently got accepted into a program called the Wallace McCain Institute. and it's for.
I saw that. That's like the top CEOs in Canada kind of thing. Like,
I wish it was for the top CEO.
Well, it was like recognizing Canadian CEOs.
It's for kind of. Don't call me a douchebag, but I guess for like up and coming CEOs in specifically to Eastern Canada. Yeah. So New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland. And,
that's awesome. Congrats, man.
Appreciate it. But one of the first guys, and I immediately had value before I was even accepted. So we had this alumni dinner, and you find out the next day if you're accepted. And anyways, I went to this alumni dinner, and I'm talking to a gentleman, and he had done exactly what I wanted to do. Well, no, actually, I guess at the time I had I got to go into that interview being like, I just sold my first franchise into the States. It was a great time. It was literally the week of my interview for this. Yeah. But anyways, I speaking with this guy, and he owns a business. I won't shout out the business in case he doesn't want me to for whatever reason. But he had franchised it into the States, and he's like, oh yeah, this is what you do. This is what you need to do. This is how you do this. Yada 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 yada. And he just like told, and he had the same problems that we had. Like one of the biggest problems you have from a Canadian franchise going to the States, if you're not going to open a corporately owned one, like one owned by us first, it's kind of fucky because you can't actually give them any of your financials to be like, so like, we had to sell them, and we have great financials. I wanted to show them our financials.
Yeah, that's how you sell franchises.
Yeah, like, you're going to make money with our first guy. It's like, I swear you'll make some money.
Trust us.
Actually, you can't even say that. You can't even tell them that. Even if you show them the financials, you can't even say that. You have to be like, basically trust us. This is the concept.
And that's an international thing you ran into?
It's an American thing. So the way they perceive our market is
our financials aren't valid.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, those are two. America and Canada are two separate markets. They're not similar enough to say that these numbers can be used to kind of so it was a really, really big obstacle to run into. So now we just want him to get up and running and get his own financials, so he can be like, look at these. And
that's really interesting, actually.
But he ran into the same issue with it getting over the border. You're like, I gotta sell something without being able to show them numbers, which adds to the difficulties.
So in your case with this South Carolina franchisee, North Carolina, sorry. No is this basically how it went down? In the end, they had to make a decision without financials of whether they wanted to go or not go?
Yeah, they pushed us pretty hard for financials. Like, what can you say? And like, we are, when it comes to the business, like my personal life, whatever. But it comes to business, like we are really strict about everything. We don't fuck around. We don't fuck around with our business. It's our livelihood. And we're like, man, we can't tell you shit. Like, so what we did, the borderline loophole that we found was like, come on down. Like we were going to do it anyway. It was called Discovery Day. You bring them down to one of your venues, and you show them everything. You go over the operations. And
so these guys came up to Halifax,
and we're like, just check it out. And they basically just saw that we were busy. So that's great. But that's as close to your financials as you can tell them. So anyways, this particular couple, they were kind of the perfect first franchisee. They came down and they told us probably halfway through the first day we were with them, like, we're not here because we had a very structured, we're going to go over this, we're going to do this. Like we had a structured weekend for them. We're like, this is what we want to cover. We're very businessy weekend. They're like, fuck that. They're like, we're already sold on your business. We just wanted to we want to meet you. We want to be sold on you.
Right.
And we're like, fucking more beer. And we were like,
have you heard of George Street?
Yeah. So we had, and they were one of these people, like, I like to think I'm fairly social guy, but like we hit it off with them so fucking well. It was ridiculous. It was like, we were just best friends, like right off the bat. We were hanging out, we just drank all weekend and ate and went out and checked cool shit out and gave them good recommendations. We showed them a good time, and it's a really comfortable relationship. It's definitely not a relationship I would recommend for your 10th franchisee, but our first one, perfect. Because you want as you grow, you want it to be much more formal, yada yada. But this guy, he's perfect. I love him. Big thing that future franchisees will do is, hey, I want to reach out to some of your current franchisees. You're like, okay, and like we can't direct them to one in particular, but being the first, he will be reached out to a lot, and he's just perfect in that.
So now you've got that. Now you've got a reference. So is he open yet?
No. So he signed the paperwork mid-May, and we sent out the LOI for his location about a week or two ago. So it's just.
So you guys are looking into location and all that for him too?
We help. We hold his hand through everything.
Oh,
we have, our operations manual actually starts at okay, you've signed your franchise. Here's what you need to look for. But like we're even more hands on with him because he's our only franchise.
You want him to win big.
We want him to win fucking huge, and I think he's going to. And anyway, so I've been helping him with all that stuff, and all our franchises will help to some degree. Yeah. He'll get more help than anyone because he's our first, which was one of our bigger selling points. We're like, hey man, like, you know, we're not McDonald's, we're not tried and true like McDonald's, but like you're our first franchisee, man. I can guarantee you, we're gonna help you more than we're gonna help.
We're in it to win it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what's it gonna be called?
That's Halimac.
So, what's up with the Halimac versus Jack Axes?
I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
So it was because we went into the States. We ran into trademarking issues with the name Jack Axes.
Okay.
And so our lawyer, she said to us, yeah, basically what you want to do is come up with a name that's just like, you know. So we knew we had to change our name. So she's like, you have to come up with a name that's just like complete bullshit, like just a made up word.
No chance of somebody else having that name.
So the example she gave to us, a great example, was Haagen-Dazs. Everyone assumes that's German or Austrian, and it's not. It's just a made up fucking word. It means nothing. And I was like, that's so clever because Haagen-Dazs sounds German, and I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of equate anything that has a German name.
Value,
quality. That's what I equate to it. And so it was very interesting. I was like, God, did they know that going in, or did they just pull this out of their ass, whatever? So we got together, and it's one of those things. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's a name. It's an easy thing." It took us weeks. We're like, because we were of that mentality. We're like, yeah, I'll go with the name. Then we're like, this is harder than we thought it was going to be. And
I guess if you're trying to like make sure you're not getting any trademark issue with anyone, you kind of have to leave out the word axe almost, right?
Absolutely, because that's in not just axe throwing bars, it's in a lot of
whatever.
shit.
Yeah,
it's in this company, it's in you know what I mean.
Yeah, so, woods and outdoors and
and the American business system is particularly litigious, so it's just they're not fucking around. Like they can sue you, they're going to sue you for infringing on their trademark.
Yeah, especially if you're Canadian.
100%. Yeah. So our name is my last name is Beaton. My cousin's last name is McGinnis. So we put Mac. That's where the Mac comes from in Halimac, and my dog's name is Hallie. So it was Hallie.
Are you serious?
Dead serious, man. Yeah.
Wow, I really thought it was like more of like a Halifax.
Everyone thought that, and we're stuck in that. We're pigeonholed to that at the moment because we just opened in Halifax.
Yeah,
and actually we opened up Halimac in Kentville, which is an hour and a half outside Halifax, and we had bookings right off the hop that were like people thought we were in Halifax. We're like, no, we're down in the valley. Well, I need to cancel that fucking booking because you guys are in Halifax, and I was like, oh shit. It's something that we didn't think of, and actually Hallie is
interesting
Halifax because that's that's where I'm from. I grew up in Halifax, so I named my dog after that. Living over here the past 12 years, and anyways, so that did run into its own problems. I mean, we're not going to run into them ever again. It was only that second location.
Why didn't you just call it Beat Mac?
We looked into Beat Mac and actually ran into problems with Beat Mac. No joke. We kind of ran into the flagpole. There was like 50 fucking companies we were in relative conflict with, and we're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I can't win.
Yeah, can't win. But Jack Axe, holy fuck. The lawyer sent me a document this thick. It was just one-liners of companies we were in conflict with.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well,
it's brutal because Jack Axes is a fucking great name for an axe throwing place. And just at looking at the name, you can almost start to visualize what the place is like and the attitude of the people, you know?
You know what? You say that, but let me throw this at you. Arguably the most successful company of all time is Apple. And that's the most boring fucking fruit I can possibly think of. And it's like, and they're equated with coolness and hip, and you know what I mean? Like they're picturing us down here talking about axe throwing, and like you're using a Mac. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I go with it. And like, so it's not so much about the name; it's more about the feeling people associate with your business. So you associate that with Jack Axes because you've been there and you had that feeling. But if you go into Halimac, the people that go into the Halimac locations, they associate that feeling. So it's
that
like,
experience.
They're not buying a name, or they don't. Walmart, another big company, like terrible fucking name, but obviously very successful. And I could go on and on and on. And actually, to be honest with you, it's almost the more successful companies have terrible names,
obscure names.
Really obscure or just simple whatever names. And
well, I think Halimac's cool because it's not really like anything else. You know, it's going to stand.
It's special to me. Like, it's my dog and my cousin's last name. It's cool.
Yeah, and it's going to stand out. Yeah. And so, are you going to be heading down for the opening of this?
100%. We're going to go down there and enjoy some North Carolina weather.
100%. Yeah.
It's going to be
so when are they figuring?
We're aiming for about November for the opening there. So we'll sign that lease hopefully this week coming. Although maybe not, but it's July 4th, it's Canada Day here, so it might get delayed by another week. And then it'll be the landlords will end up doing a little bit of work that they have to do, and then we'll get in there, and we need about in that space, we'll probably need 2 months
to get her on the go.
Running, yeah, probably less. But
How much time do you think you'll spend now? Like, you're going to go down for setup and...
So we have a team that will send down as well, like people that are, the bar people, the general manager.
Guys from St. John's?
Yeah, there'll be a couple people from St. John's going. Don't tell them yet. They haven't agreed, but they're going.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have some people, a floor manager going down, a general manager going down, a bar guy going down, and then we'll go down as well, and they'll be in constant communication with our marketing director as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we're gonna 100% make sure these people have a phenomenal experience.
How many other axe throwing outfits are there in North Carolina?
In North Carolina, what's funny? At the time that he signed this, there was one other that just opened a second location. So there's about 1 million. Oh fuck! There's actually I think 2.5 million in Charlotte and surrounding area.
Yeah.
So it's a huge.
Is this guy in Charlotte?
He's in Charlotte. Yeah.
Okay.
But at the time he signed, there was one and they had just opened a second, and we very quickly found out there's 2 other ones opening up as well.
Okay.
In that time. So
that's kind of where a place like that can probably...
Oh, they can handle it, no problem.
That, yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to kind of know where their leases were kind of signed already. So they're all actually really, really close. They're all right downtown Charlotte, which is where I would have liked to go. But we found our own little area. There's like 300,000 people within 3 miles or something like that. I'm like,
right.
I was like,
that's what you need. That's just like St. John's.
It's like 190 or whatever, and way bigger than that. And I was like, and it sustains one, no problem. And I'm like, so you won't have a problem up there.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
I think you're going to do well with this. And do you guys have like a target for where you'd like to see your next franchise in the world?
So we're sticking in North America for now. We've batted around. We won't get into it, but some other countries in terms of expansion.
Yeah.
We have some ideas. We just happen to have a couple connections at
some other places.
At some other places as well. So we'll look into that, but we really want to prove the concept first and then grow from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking into international stuff and, if you're not really going to be able to use your solid financials as a way to sell this, you're going to just need to keep growing it and building it and
that's an American-specific problem. I don't know I've never expanded into another country, so it might not be a problem in other countries, but you're always going to have hurdles if you're going into another country. It's just a reality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and more than anything, the most important thing right now is the viability of the concept, so we just need to make sure that is confirmed. I mean, we know it is, but we need to show it that it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and they need something to be able to, so other people can understand how this can work for them as a business.
Exactly.
This is wild, man. This has been a really good chat, I must say.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for having me down.
It's my pleasure.
Enjoyable, yeah.
Why don't you just one more time let all of our listeners know where all the locations are right now that you're involved in and where they can go out and throw an axe?
Sure. So we have one location downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, one inside the Thunderdome in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, and we have one in Kentville, Nova Scotia, and one in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and coming soon to Charlotte, North Carolina.
And also coming to the Gathering Festival, Burlington, Newfoundland, August 23rd and 24th. Excuse me. You're going to be able to come up and check these guys out, meet them in person, come say hi to Adrian. I think I've got his arm twisted to come down himself and do this.
Definitely coming down.
You should.
There's no twisting involved.
And where can the folks find you guys online?
jackaxeinc.com, halimac.com.
Okay, and what about on you guys on Instagram and stuff?
Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, yeah. And Jack Axes Inc. or Halimac Axe Throwing.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Well, this has been a day to remember, sir. And we're going to go down now to Cornerbrook and have a great evening. And anything else you want to say?
No, just thanks for having me on. This was a blast.
My pleasure. I can't believe this actually worked out that you were in town and ready to do this.
I was floating down the Humber Valley River when this was arranged.
Yes, you were. Another great thing to do in Western Newfoundland.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you take your shit out of the river with you when you go.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
It's a big problem for the steady brokers.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, everyone, see, the thing to do is you come from town.
Yeah.
And you go to Canadian Tire.
You act like an asshole.
You buy a $30 raft. Don't fuck with the $10 life jacket.
Yeah.
And you take it out of the box and leave all the garbage in Steady Brook, and then you go to Cornerbrook and you leave the raft in the woods and you go back home, right?
Say we were with McIver's people, so they were like, they would have killed me if I did something.
Yeah,
like that.
They're like that box. You're not throwing that box out. That's That's good
girlfriend
fire tinder there.
Her parents would have made her break up with me. Like, that city fucker coming here, littering all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. So great pastime when done respectfully. So I'm glad you got to enjoy the area, man. I guess we'll see you again in August.
Yeah, we'll be talking before then, I'm sure.
Adrian Beaton, owner of Jack Axes. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you. Cool, man. Was it? Yeah, nice. That was a cool one, man. Great time. Yes, it did go well, eh? Oh, didn't do it.